Hello and welcome to the Week 4 Google Code-In Copyleft Games Hangout on Air. Today we have lots of students who will be doing presentations, but today we are going to start off with Sam, who is presenting a dependency. So, Sam, take it away.
Alright, so I'll be presenting Loudmouth. It's an XAMPP library, which is a communication protocol based on XML. It's designed to be decentralized, and it's also been used on Google Talk before, but they've dropped support. The thing is, the library is also dead. The latest update was in 2008. So Arc has a fork called Light Melody, which will replace it in PySoy. So do you have Arc? Do you have anything to say about that?
Yeah. So 1.5 is wrapping up, but that's what I've been working on over the last 2 weeks, primarily. Since the last version of Loudmouth was 1.4, I'm aiming for 1.5. There's only 2 API changes that we know of, otherwise it's fully compatible. The only difference otherwise is that it's moved from a one-off object-ish system in C to GObject, and switching from things like GNet into GIO and other modern improvements just to make it easier to support. Otherwise, it's almost exactly the same. So anything you say on Loudmouth also plays Light Melody. So what do you have to tell us about Loudmouth?
Well, I don't.
What are some of the applications that we're using Loudmouth for?
I don't think the networking code in PySoy is functional yet. So,
But it will be based off of Loudmouth.
or yeah, I guess Light Melody.
Okay.
Same API.
Yeah.
So what is XMPP?
So it's based on XML. It's a communication protocol. It can be used over TCP, and I think there are other channels you can use. So yeah, I think it was originally designed for instant messaging, but it's pretty extensible. It can be used for other things.
So what exactly does Loudmouth do? It's your presentation.
It should be a library for, I guess, communicating with the protocol. I haven't looked at the details, though. I should probably do that.
You want a screen share?
Let me check. Sure.
Can you go through an example in the source code?
Uh,
While he's looking that up, I can fill some of there. One of the things that we were planning to add, right now, Loudmouth is older than Jingle, which is the out-of-band voice, video, and data streaming that we plan to use for gaming. So the code that we do have in libsway right now does the Jingle connection. It will connect to XMPP, but you got to do it manually. And I believe it will make data connection kind of, but not over the way we need it to. So we have libnice being used for that because ICE is the NAT breaking connection library. Moving all that code over to Light Melody will simplify libsoy quite a bit as far as networking is concerned. Take all of the Jingle stuff and put it right into the XMPP library itself, and then they just cross-platform support a lot easier for networking. But that's a little bit down the road. We're still a bit off from able to do that. Right now, the Light Melody isn't completely refactored yet. It's still using some of the network code that is not working within the network code. Then you got an example file from the source code yet?
I found one on Vela. So yeah, creates a connection here. Authentication messages. It's pretty basic. And they also provide an async example.
Want to pull that up?
Oh, am I sharing that?
What?
Oh, odd.
So is Loudmouth, is it peer-to-peer or is it server to client?
Huh. Is anyone else seeing a black screen?
Yes.
That's really odd.
I remember there's some examples in the Loudmouth source code for making a basic XMPP connection, and that explains a lot if you can pull that up and walk through it. It's like 10 lines ago.
Well, I'm getting black screens for some reason on screen share, so not sure what to do about that.
Yeah.
Do you want to field any questions for about Light Melody?
I know you've looked at Light Melody code at least once. Can you talk about the changes in the code base and what's going on with it? Because I know you've seen it. Seen the process, at least.
Wait. Well, there is the repo and all its changes. But
If you send me a page, I can screen share it for you if you want. Just if there's something you want to really use as an example.
alright, there's the example.
Okay, let me just get that up for you. Okay.
You want to click on your own screen to pull us over?
I think I am clicked on over there. Let me just
There you are.
present it. Okay. So looks like the synchronous sample, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, asynchronous is simpler.
So do you want to sort of explain what's going on here?
Let's see. So it's creating a connection and trying to authenticate with username and password. Sends a message and then closes the connection.
Okay, so it's opening and it's creating a new message, and then it's adding the body to the message, and then it's sending the message. Okay.
Yes.
So if you scroll up a little bit, what's that node thing? Say no?
Hmm?
That line right there, what's that all about?
I think that I'm pretty sure that ties into the XML that's being used.
Mhm.
It's, I guess, adding a child to that node. Oh,
So what would the I mean, there's lots of examples, but what would that look like on the screen?
Hmm?
What is that actually sending? What's it says sending message to?
Wait, what do you mean?
So I see here new message, and
Yeah.
I see you adding the body of the message, but what's it actually doing? What's the XML for that?
It should be just a tag and closing tag.
I see a message in there. Yeah. And I see a
Like that?
authenticating, new message, message type. Where's it adding the message recipient and all that? Hmm.
It looks like it's all coming in from the.
There you are, recipient. So that looks like it just connects and then sends a message to whoever you tell on the command line.
And then it disconnects.
Yeah.
Or it throws an error.
Throws an error, yeah.
And then under that we have the asynchronous sample, if we want to look over that.
That's a little more complicated.
Okay.
You have to create a background thread. Or not the background, the a source and a main loop. What's funny about Loudmouth, it does predate GIO, but it was still being maintained when GIO was out. They didn't actually update it. GIO is the modern way of doing networking in glib, but it's using everything else from glib. It's like they cherry-picked the newer stuff and tacked on top of the older stuff. It's really just a classic case of bit rotting. They stopped maintaining it. There's a few dozen packages still using it, but then have all these ancient, unmaintained libraries that it depends on that. Some of them don't work with modern glib, and it's become a bit of a dead project.
Okay, so does anyone have any other questions or anything more to add about Loudmouth? If not, we can move on to Starbuck, who's presenting sugar activities. Nobody? Okay. Yeah, so next we have Starbuck, who is presenting the sugar activities. So you're on.
All right. Let me just set up a quick screen share. Can you present the other window?
Yes, I can.
Because I'm gonna do a screen share real quick.
Yeah, yeah.
Just hang on us just a sec. Go. Alright, just a sec. I gotta launch the CH or whatever it is. Okay, so hopefully I can share that. See. Hang on a sec. Alright, while I'm getting this set up, I'll just go over a bit of the basics of it. Hang on. So can you see this? Wait, no, apparently, maybe not. Okay, so I guess I'll just leave that alone for now. Because that's in a CH road, I don't think it can be seen. Okay, so I've been working on getting PySoy integrated with sugar, mainly through taking sugar soy and getting it started. And that's here, we can switch to me because that screen share's not gonna work. That's something because it's Python 2.7 based system sugar is, and PySoy is Python 3 based. It just involves launching a subprocess. So that's actually not that hard. But I decided that it would be much more helpful if we actually integrated with the sugar window, since that would probably make more sense and actually be useful for people. So I used a GTK plug and a GTK socket to start to basically to plug in the sugar soy system into the sugar activity. So what this means is that when you're using if you want to make a game that uses PySoy and runs through sugar, you can actually have it fit into the sugar window with basically no work. Though I think that Michael's been working a bit on making sure that that PySoy activity actually shows up on the window, because I know that we found that there was a bit of an issue there. So I guess that's really all I have to say. There's a bit more to be done. Basically, the only thing left is to make sure that works, and making sure the window actually displays, and making sure the game has some way to integrate with the journal, so that it can save and load state. But I think that's only just going to be exposing some sort of framework for games to interact with that, because I don't think you can automatically save the state of the game for it. I guess that's really all I have to say.
Okay, does anyone have any questions about that presentation or something that they need to have a little bit clearer?
Come on, someone ask a question.
He wasn't able to share his screen, so he must have something you can get across.
I can show an example if anyone wants to see that of kind of what it does if you set me back to presenting on the other system.
Yep.
Okay. Okay. Scratch. Okay. Part of my English paper. Alright, so code, sugar, activities, activity. Okay, so here's the actual activity code. This is basically all I really had to do to get the task done, which is create create a basic activity, which is what this does, and then start the sub-process. But I also set up a socket, which is basically a widget that lets me attach another widget. Basically, lets me attach from another process a window. So that lets the started sub-process actually natively connect. And then I went through and I removed all the stuff that had to do with creating a window. So from the UI config, I removed the top level window and renamed the pane as root, and then it basically just starts that. And then I rewrote the window to connect to this environmental variable that has the ID to plug into. And then all of this is this is the existing code that was written for connecting in the actual activities that get launched. Which, if you try to use them, they will black screen because the integration code doesn't actually work correctly. So, yep.
Can you show the example?
Yeah, hang on a second. Okay. Let's see, activities. I can kind of show what it would look like if it ran. I can't show what it would look like in Sugar because obviously I don't actually have Sugar working. But I can start a Python socket.
Okay. Are you trying to share your screen? 'Cause we're not getting anything right now.
Oh, are you not?
No.
It says it's sharing. Interesting. Hang on a second. See if this is going to be my issue as well. Let's stop screen sharing, and let's screen share again. Sorry about that. See here. Is that working? Interesting.
Don't think so. I think
Yeah.
it seems like Google Hangouts has been having a little bit of a problem with screen sharing lately.
Maybe it's an issue of screen sharing on Linux here. I don't know. Okay, so obviously I can't screen share that, but yeah. But what you would see is you would see that if I could screen share, you'd see. Actually, I could probably put an image in here, couldn't I? Basically, what you would see is you'd see like a normal Sugar window with the main body split into two halves, where the top half had a Sugar terminal, or the top half had basically a black rectangle for the game to run in, and the bottom half had a terminal to launch the game. And then theoretically, when you launched the games, they would automatically appear on the top half, and that's basically the next step. And I think that's basically all there is to say about that.
Okay. Any questions about the Sugar stuff?
The design for the UI. Do we need a research task for how to get we're dealing with limited screen space usually on these XOs.
Yeah.
Would a UI research or UI design task be warranted here to get the GDK framing, sweeping, whatever it needs sorted out?
Yeah, probably. The UI stuff is a little bit. With Sugar, the UI stuff seems to be fairly integrated into the code. If you need to make a toolbar, you're going to have to go through the code and grab a Sugar toolbar. It's not really as nice as it could be, but yeah, it would be nice. The UI is kind of bad, for lack of a better word there. So yeah, that would be definitely something to have. Any other questions?
We should have some figure in here. Probably have 5 minutes of questions for you. So you'll bring in one of the Sugar mentors next week.
Okay then.
Okay then. If no one has any questions, then we can move on. Daryl, your turn. You're presenting a bug.
Yep. I'm going to present a bug with the joints, actually the ball joint. And okay, so let me show you why exactly I'm doing this. Oh, that's unfortunate. I can't screen share just the needed window, so I gotta share the whole screen. So
Problems with screen sharing? Never.
yeah. All right. So
It worked this time.
yeah. So look at this beauty. That's an amazing joint, isn't it? Oh no, no, not this. Okay. Is that a bit better? I can't see my screen share right now. I mean, it doesn't do this recursive thing, right?
From my point of view, it looks like it's frozen, but I think that might just be me.
Yeah, it's not moving, but is it anything weird going on?
The thumbnail shows a recursive screen, and if I click on it, it goes black.
The
Okay.
ball joint connected to the body.
So basically, this joint, I hope you see it, the way it sticks out and stuff like that. So this joint is supposed to be connected to the scene. It's not to the other body. So it's just connected to to the first cube and the scene, but it just shows only half of the joint. It shows only the first stick and the ball. It doesn't show the cap of the ball nor the other stick. So yeah, that's it.
That might be by design. If it's connected to the scene, it should only have one part, as it's connected to a single point in the scene.
Yeah, I guess. I think the issue with this here is in the C bindings, because when you have a scene for a second body, it sends null as a body. Body 2 equals null, so it doesn't render the second part of the joint. It renders just the first part. So it doesn't render the cap in the other stick.
Wait.
Wait, so is it trying to create a joint between just one point and nothing else?
Yes, it's basically creating a joint between the axis of the ball and the body, the first body. It doesn't connect with the second body. It actually connects, because if you try to move this thing, it will be restricted by the joint, but it doesn't render. It just doesn't render it correctly. Also, okay, this doesn't need to be screen shared anyway, so I'm not gonna share it. When you try to connect this to another body, so cube to cube, this joint, you're gonna get a CPU usage spike, the window is going to freeze, your PC might crash, and you're going to have to queue the process to actually close the window. So yeah, it's a lot of fun.
That might not be by design.
I think this is one of those bugs which you can turn into a feature, don't you think?
So
this was related to the bug with
this.
Okay.
If you were to split this into GCI tasks, what would you suggest as a way of splitting this up to get it fixed?
I didn't quite catch that. It was kind of low.
If this were to be made into Google Coding tasks to fix, how would you break that up? It sounds like we're talking about several different bugs affecting multiple joints here. Because I think most of the joints can connect to the scene is to fix them in a fixed place in space rather than two floating bodies.
Yeah.
So,
well, the first and the most important part, I would say, would be to fix the C bindings, because that's part of the problem. That's where most of the stuff happens. And that would be the first thing to fix. And after that, if there is any issues with the Ellipsoid backend, maybe that would be another task, or maybe the same one. I'm not sure how big this thing is, but yeah, It's odd. It's kind of odd. Also, it used to work. I remember using it last Google Coding. I used ball joints, so it did.
Yeah, it's probably something that got broken.
Broken probably. I think this thing froze.
We can hear you again,
Yeah, he came back in.
Mad Max. Or next headroom? Yeah, next headroom. Okay. I think we lost it.
Daryl, Earth to. Okay.
That was a good bug.
It looks like it's also now a bug that is keeping him from.
Maybe he tried to launch the joint chain
Yeah.
first as a demonstration.
And now it's halting and caching fire.
I love the little. One of the things I love about working on a beta code like this is we find these really fun ways of crashing a computer. We know of a couple that will just completely cause the physics engine to crash and burn. One of them someone found was that you make a room, and the room is physically too small to contain the bodies within it. The physics engine will go completely nuts and then eat up 110% of the CPU, and there we go. I think we fixed that, but that was one of the easy crash and burns. If you someone tried to make a room that was 1 by 1 by 1 and then put a couple 1 by 1 objects in it, and it just went haywire. And then the objects started exploding up the side of the room, and they went back and forth because they're out of bounds, and yeah. Huge floating point numbers and light speed velocities and
There was actually an early programming language which was made as a joke language, which required you to be the right amount of polite. So you had to put right please in front of every few lines, but you couldn't put it in front of every line.
Intercall.
Yes,
yes.
intercall. And if you were either too polite or insufficiently polite, it would not compile.
Your manual for that has a processor diagram subsection in it.
I think we've completely lost Darrow, but that was a pretty good presentation.
Yes.
Good choice for a bug anyways.
Okay, so if we get Daryl back, I guess we'll go back to him to finish up. But until then, Michael, are you ready? So Michael is presenting a how-to. Is your mic on?
Sorry. So what I want to present today is how to create a new soy widget. So first I want to share my screen. I think it will work. So first thing that we have to do is to create a new in Lipsoy to create a new widget, a new class that inherits from a soy widget. So it's for example, cool. I will name it cool widget. So create it, and so next is a moment. Hang on a second. Oh yes. So the widget, the custom widget is built from is built. We can create a custom widget by creating a new class that inherits from that main abstract widget class. So, for example, to create a new class, we just have to just create a class. For example, soy widgets, a cool widget that inherits from soy widget class. And next, as you see, we have some virtual methods. So we have to implement them and override. So I gonna copy that and just replace virtual with override. And for example, okay, so that's a pattern that we can start with creating a new widget, custom widget. So, for example, I'm gonna create some. That's a test widget, so this is gonna only show some informations. For example, that will be soy widgets. Cool. Added. And next line is similar. So that's just for test that it work. Remove and render. Okay. And the last one, same. So this is just a basic widget class. We can add some properties to get, but that's too easy to show. This is not important to show you today because it's very easy to implement. So the next we have a Lipsoy class, so we can use it in Lipsoy. We can use it in Lipsoy, but we can't use it in PySoy because we have to implement it in PySoy. Create a special PySoy class that will provide an interface to that we can use that widget in Python, in our Python scripts. So, okay, I can create a construct too. Okay, so the next one, and go to moment, other window to show. Oh yes, that's it. So we are in PySoy, and we have to create a a class, an interface to use our widget in PySoy scripts written in Python. So we start by creating a new C file. For example, I'm going to name it cool.c, and we can copy that all that full stuff from any other widget, for example, Canvas, or even from Firefox. So, and we have a class, but we have to customize it. So first, we have to define a class name. So it's cool, and so on, so on. That's the string that is used to create a Python documentation, and this is TP new is called when we create a new object when we create a new object of our widget. So this should be fine. I don't know. Here we should change it. And this representation will be usually will be shown if we print the our widgets. For example, in Python, will show this is string. So to be recognized, we have to set it. And next, here we have a few fields. We can put functions that will we can use to get to provide some properties in Python. We can check this. You can check it in window. There's a lot of preparation. So I didn't add any properties in my ellipsoid widget, so I will left it. And here we have to change the name to because it will be a name of our class in our class in Python. Here we have to change the type, and that line is to tell Python from what that class inherits. So this is from Firefox, and it inherits from a container, but we have to just inherit from widget type. And it's all in our class, and we have to go to the PySoy header, and we have some we go to soy widgets, and we can can copy, for example, this, and tell PySoy that we have this widget. And it's all in PySoy header. And the last one we have to change is widgets initialization. So we have some initialization. Oh, here. We have to add that widget to be that we can use it in PySoy, of course, as a Python module. So we have to change it to cool. And next is similar than that before. And I think it's all. So we are not ready to build this PySoy because I haven't built libsoy yet. So back to the console. This and just we have configure, build. Oh, it's an error. Oh,
You have 3 errors in the file.
yeah.
One of them might be that I think that you misspelled width twice in your
Yeah.
Yeah, also, when you define the
I
class
see.
on the top, you have a trailing colon after widget on the class line.
Give me a second.
This is a new form of pair programming. Group programming. We've all been looking at the code as you wrote and like, there's a bug. There's a bug.
I can fix it.
It's the best
So-
debugger.
So, moment. Oh, still. Still error. Moment. So that's line 3.
Class.
Yes. Python.
Trailing. There shouldn't be a colon at the end.
And line 5. That was 3, 4, 5. What is wrong here? Construct.
Well, you can change that to change it. Just change construct or the parentheses to init because you don't
What
have
does it say?
arguments. Just change the construct. Just change the construct line to just init without parentheses. That's the easiest. I'm not entirely sure what's going on there. That has probably something to do with the inheritance structure.
So I just add some variable.
No, I would just change the whole line to init since you don't need the arguments. No. Erase construct and the parentheses, the entire line, just the construct line. and change it with the letters I and IT.
I think
No.
I can. Even I can delete this because we don't have it now to
Yeah.
not waste time. So I can
Yeah.
I can delete this. So sorry.
This is the internet's largest gathering of Genie programmers right here.
Yeah. Okay, it has both, and we have some. Oh, this is a warning. So we have built Lipsoi, so we have to install it in system. And okay, next step is to build PySoy. Build PySoy and just go build. My headset died. Batteries.
It is the Hangouts has pretty
out
good.
of power.
All the power.
Yeah.
Yeah, mine said too. I forgot to charge it.
Oh, we had an error. Unexpected, of course.
Yeah.
So what I did wrong? Ah yes. Cool. See, I haven't changed it.
So why didn't you use a case-sensitive search and replace on that?
Yes, it's here. Okay. So now it should work. Okay. So we have to install it. And we can create an example to show that that works. That it works. So I. So the basis more maximal basic example is just we can create a client. So and we have to add our widget. And to add it to window. Okay, that should work. And I will show my console. So now we want to test it. So it was Python 3. Okay, you see that works. So we have created a new widget, and I think that's all. I think that's all, and
What
you can
happens
ask me a
when
question. Sorry?
What happens if you resize the window?
Yes. I can't show you all screen.
Go ahead and
but,
resize off the screen share.
Now I'm resizing the window, so you see the width variables are changed. So, or I can show all window. Oh yes, it is. So okay, you see that's changing. So I think it works. It works well, and we create a new widget in Lifsoy and Python. So I think it's all. So I'm ready for your questions.
Biggest question I have, you just started on Lipsoy a few weeks ago, right?
Yes.
So how did you go about, there's not a lot of documentation how to create a new class. How did you learn how to, all these little steps? Everything you did was good and perfect, but how did you learn all this?
Just from code. I just read that code. I don't think it's easy to even there is documentation in Python because you can in every single class in Lipsoy Python have a documentation field, and that's useful.
Yeah, you found the right files. The only thing that you missed, and this is not so important, you also, there's the pysoy.h file you include, but you only need that if the class gets inherited by other classes. So there's the prototypes for each of the types is in that file. But you nailed it. I mean, that's exactly the process to make a new class. It's not just a widget class, but really any class. They're all basically the same thing. It's just you inherit put in different place in the file system or the source tree and inherit different things. But it's all cookie cutter mostly.
So, any questions? Any more questions? By the way, I use maybe you see C Lion, but it's very very buggy.
Also
For
that
example,
H.
that syntax highlighter is really has a lot of bugs. That's annoying, really annoying.
Yeah. Oh, I like though the way it doesn't look right in that one, but I like the way it looks in other ones. It's really easy if you need to add something new to if you scroll down a bit.
Oh.
Hold on. So that you lost it. Or so that block right there, that is actually the PyType object. It's a standard struct that you have to provide Python to add a new type. That's something we made unique. That's almost verbatim out of the Python header for the C API. But one of the things I liked, and we spent a lot of time this early on because it just got really confusing. Early on we started doing the Python bindings. It was just like 0, and commas, and breaking off like this made it easy to find when you're looking for, especially a struct that big.
Just a question. Are those zeros basically meaning to be nulls, basically?
No, null is we can, if I recall correctly, in C headers, or I don't know, there is defined null 0. So
yeah, I think it's a void pointer to 0, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
Some of them are actually supposed to be 0 though, like item size I believe is an int. So I think 0 just simplified the way it displayed.
Okay.
Also, most most of our highlighters use a different color for numbers than words, so we can very easily see which ones didn't have a value on that. If it was just columns and nulls, it would have been a little more complicated.
By the way, I want to ask you why is C used instead of, for example, C++? I know there's no C++ Python lib, but I think C++ is has a more bigger standard lib, etc. Why did you why have you choose C for that instead of, for example, C++? I know that there were some performance so why did you choose C for it instead of C++?
Well, the bindings is an obvious answer. Python's written in C, the bindings are in C, and really, if you scroll through these bindings, they're almost all macros. The PySoy code is pretty much just macro after macro after macro. If you flip to pysoy.h on your tab,
Which?
the one just above your mouse. There you go. Scroll up. Way up.
Okay.
So I was wrong. You did add it to that file. Scroll down just a little bit further.
Oh, some.
There is
It's
those macros. So, for example, if you want to add a property, you don't have to add all that code over and over again. It just boilerplate. We would auto-generate these if someone were to actually put the time into making it auto-generate. We really should have an auto-generation system that just takes the .bappy and makes the bindings out of that. We would use, and we probably will eventually use geobject introspection even, which eliminates the bindings entirely, except that's really, really, really rough and doesn't work right now. At least not yet.
That's a good reason not to use it.
Well, we tried to use it, and the Vala geobject introspection output literally gave us soy as a namespace and nothing inside of it. And we found out why is the exporter from Vala to geobject introspection doesn't do nested namespace, and the reason why is geobject introspection doesn't support nested namespaces. So we would have to manually craft it with multiple geobject introspection files because the interpreter can't handle it in one file. It is kind of insane. GStreamer also has a nested namespace and is geobject based, and they have a similar issue. If you look at they did get geobject introspection working, but it requires so many hacks they might have well just written the bindings in C. They have like 8 or 9 different .gi files, and you have to manually import each one individually, and we've had a bug on their bug tracker, I think probably 5 to 6 years now about that. The author of this library was like, well, that's not our focus right now. We're going to work on stability for the core GNOME system and GDK. So, okay.
Why did we choose to use geobject? Just because a lot of the stuff we use does that, or? That's
it. First of all, our primary target was Linux. More so, very early on, his name was Eric Steen. He was a Google Code student in 2007. He still sometimes pops around the IRC channel, nicknamed Toba. He's the one that originally added glib. We were using some of those libraries before that, but he's the one that actually started PySoy using glib, and the reason why is it contained a whole bunch of really awesome convenience functions that we needed. Very similar to Boost would have for C++. We did at one point look at C++ with Boost, but the product was a lot heavier. glib, GIO, all that stuff is much leaner than Boost, and cause a lot less cross-platform compatibility issues. So also at the time you're using GDK for our windowing, which we don't use anymore, at least not as a default. But because GDK had already imported cross-platform, we were using that to get cross-platform support. So we can run it on Windows, and you wouldn't have to add specific Windows code.
And Genie?
Genie just gets us GObject without as much risk. We were using GObject in C before, and there are all sorts of issues with rep counting and else. It solves a lot of the problems with code stability and not having to worry about fringe bugs and tracking back individual stuff. The product code for Genie is actually faster than we were writing with C directly, which I was surprised by. I thought, you look at the generated C files, and it's like setting temporary variables all over the place, but apparently that makes it a lot easier for GCC. It's compiler magic as far as I'm concerned, but it's kind of cool. The guys behind the Vala project put a lot of time into working with the GCC guys and making sure that the produced code would be really easily processed by GCC. If you look at the timing it takes to compile glib, almost all the time is Vala C compiling all the C files, and then GCC just whips right through all the C files because it's apparently really easy to optimize them. So,
and instead of no particular reason not using Vala.
We actually did originally use Vala. We switched to Vala because the syntax was so alien to what we were used to with Python that a lot of people just prefer. You can't actually mix. I think until about a year ago we still had Vala and Genie source code interspersed. I think the compiler tool will still just take a .vala file and compile it.
Yeah, it's identical.
But yeah, the syntax and feature are the same. It's just, well, not syntax. The language feature are the same.
Yeah.
It's just the front end parser is different. So since we were expecting, and largely we still have Python people working on the code, it made more sense to use Genie. And we have all the Vala guys doing all the hard work for us, so that's even more awesome.
All right.
There have been times that we took the GObject and C-based and even sometimes the Python-based stuff into question. The biggest time is that GObject does not really play well with C++. They're two different object systems. So if you use C++ to interact with GObject, you're essentially writing C code at that point anyways. But then you have other fringe issues come up. There are libraries to make that crossover convenient. When we tried to switch over to using the Bullet 3D engine, since Bullet with C++ and their C bindings were almost non-existent, they certainly weren't good enough. They weren't fleshed out enough to use. We ended up having to abandon the whole idea. We'd have to have someone spend a few months going through the Bullet source code, writing the C wrappers for everything.
Jeez.
So it was the Bullet guys said, please do not use the C API. We're planning to get rid of it. So it was yeah. But in all seriousness, Bullet is heavier than we're looking for anyways. We're targeting things like the Raspberry Pi and Sugar and Android. And Bullet, in all seriousness, Bullet is heavier than you really should want to be running on an Android phone, even the newer ones. It's made for desktops and powerful game consoles. It's not meant for my little Android phone. So.
Yeah. And then I guess I have one final question. Doesn't using a GPL license mean that you can't actually publish these to the store?
To the Android store?
Yeah.
No, there's also
Why not?
GPL code on Android Play.
I thought that they don't. Maybe it's just Apple that doesn't like that. I know for a fact that Apple will not allow it at all. But I thought I read somewhere that Google does a similar thing. No?
Apple's an interesting company. as far as licenses go, they've actually backpedaled on that a few times and said, well, we're going to add an exception, and then maybe we have to have the lawyers look at it more. I don't think they're necessarily anti-GPL. I think they don't know how to work with the free software community at all. And there's definitely elements within Apple that care about that. They're certainly losing valuable talent because of it. They have a really poor relationship with the free software community. When they bought Cups, the print engine that we all use, there's a lot of panic about that. Like, what exactly are their plans with this? Do we have to fork Cups now, like we did with MySQL, you know, or Java?
Oh, so, yeah, Java's weird.
Java's weird. Java makes everyone want to run away and hide.
Yeah, apparently it feels like everyone. I work on big Java projects mostly, but it feels like everyone I talk to is like that's the least favorite thing they'd like to be doing. They'd rather be doing any other language, which is really funny because we've all chosen to work on a Java project.
Yeah, Java's got hype, but it's anyone that uses it starts to lose their mind and wants to. Python is fun. Let's do Python. Like, I could write 10 lines of Python that would take me an hour on Eclipse to write.
Yeah, we have in this project we have mixins in Java, which is which we're using ASM rewriting and bytecode manipulation, and it's just it's really awesome, but it's also really complicated, and there's really strange things like if you want to access variables in one mixin from a different mixin, you have to add an interface to both of them that does the same thing and then only implement it in one of them.
Is the project maintainer, do you have a straitjacket ready for him?
No, just use reflection and fix all of it in runtime.
Oh god, it's all done it's all done pre-runtime. It's done runtime pre-runtime. We fix all the stuff right before the thing starts, and so the in-memory representation is correct. And yes, it's just
Java's fun.
We have one guy who basically does all of the low-level stuff like that, and that's my distracted bit.
I'm really glad we have things like Jython. Someone actually suggested it would be an interesting summer code project to get PySoy running on Jython for easier and Jython's kind of cool. I've seen it running before.
And there's also Iron Python. I know that does the CLR, but I don't know where that's at.
I don't know if Jython solves the problem. The biggest problem with Python is a global interpreter lock. If you go to PyCon and listen to anyone talk about the core Python design, everyone says the same thing. We need to go to the GIL, and everyone's tried, and it's not so easy. So the core of Python, Python is old. Like I started using Python in the 90s, and yeah, I know I'm showing my age, aren't I? When I was a teenager, I was using like Python 1.3, 1.4 when it was relatively new. It was kind of cool back then. I mean, it did some things that no other languages really did, and it made programming fun. It was really young, and it really rough around the edges. But I mean, it was a cool concept. The problem is that a lot of that same code design is still being used today, and it came from an era that we didn't have multi-core processors that most people would have access to. Outside of the big iron stuff, it was all single core, sometimes even RISC, 6800 SPARC stations and stuff. So, or 3D6. When threading came about in Python, the way they added threading is they added something called the global interpreter lock. So threading was designed so that you can have non-blocking processors run side by side, except that only one of them would actually be able to execute at once. So again, it's threading on a single core. It didn't really matter to anyone because, well, only one thing can run at once. Now, because they don't have thread-safe object handling, they still have the global interpreter lock, and removing it makes it much slower. You have to then do mutex locks on every single stage of the process. If we were to run PySoy, even the parts of PySoy that make sense to run in Python, we would be running into the kill again, which is the biggest early problem with PySoy design with the global interpreter lock. So every process that's going to use it has to have a global mutex called the GIL, and only that process can run. So you have 8 cores, only 1 core at a time. Even though you have all these different threads running, we'll be able to actually execute Python code.
So you could do multiple processes, but that's really heavy.
Yeah,
right?
There's actually one of the workarounds is the multi-process framework under Python, so it'll actually be running multiple processes of a sort, and each Python process will be able to share state. And that actually works, and it works well, but it's a big hack, and I don't know how that works with C code.
I doubt it works on Windows if it's a big hack.
Yeah, well, that's why we have the design we have of moving. It's one of the reasons we have it the way we have, moving everything out of the core Python system. That's why we use a different object system than PyObject. GObject is actually much lighter weight than PyObject, and it's thread safe. It's been thrown around. And if I ever have a year or two to waste, which I don't, I would sit down and write a Python interpreter based on GObject. So it's actually, the Python interpreter is not that heavy. People have rewritten a few times from scratch.
Convince someone that it's worth the money to pay you to do it.
You've got it. Well, I think there is. It would get rid of the GIL and solve the problems. So, because the GIL is really a C Python issue, it's not really a Python as a language issue. So, if you were to build Python, just even taking the code, fork it, and build the PyObject system on top of the GIL, and move the object counting or the ref counting and garbage collection into GObject, I think it would run faster, and I think that it would solve all the threading issues in just one refactoring madness. So, yes, what I just said was insane. Please do not quote me on that. It's actually true, but anyone who would take on such a project is probably in for a life. I don't know. I'm speaking to myself. Don't do this. Quote me on that. Okay.
All right.
So I see that Daryl is back in the call, so if he has anything that he wants to add to his presentation before he left.
Yeah, that was awkward. Yeah, the computer just froze and shut down. That was the first time I've ever had something like that in ages.
You were presenting a bug appropriate.
Yeah. Well, I basically said what I had about this bug. Basically, I only wanted to add that I thought it was similar to the bug that happens with using any other scenes. You know, when you use any other scene aside from room, it won't work right now. Landscape and plumber and everything else is bugged. The window just goes blank and you have to kill the process. But it doesn't make the computer freeze.
The joints specifically?
No. It's the scenes that bug.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, the scenes are bugged, and I think that happened in probably during the merging of the branches with the GLS2. And I thought the joints bug was connected to that somehow, but it apparently isn't. So yeah.
Okay.
That's
I can lead it directly from that to the new task I'm actually almost finished editing and putting up. I was going to put up yesterday. Stephanie Taylor, I talked to her about this and she approved. This is completely weird for GCI and an experiment. And she suggested only putting a few of them up to first and see how it goes. But for the first time, we're going to have Google Code and tasks to write Google Code and tasks.
Set of tasks.
You have to do something because the student load this year has completely surpassed anything we've seen before, and we can't get new tasks up fast enough. We have an outline of tasks that need to be put up, and this is a good example of something I didn't even know. Daryl, we want to follow this up with writing 10 Google Code tasks. Even if Daryl takes on those tasks, the mentor has to approve them as far as how difficult they're going to be and so on. The splitting up process is really in writing it up so that the tasks are properly broken up. Is one of the hardest things. I mean, it takes a good 15-20 minutes per task to write, and some of the tasks take less time than that to actually do. They shouldn't, but sometimes. And those descriptions don't write themselves. I mean, a mentor has to sit down and write out each task description. And really think about, is this an appropriate task? Is this too hard? Look at the code, see, is this going to take a student a week to do for 5 minutes or 3 to 5 hours like it's supposed to? So, and we sometimes miss the mark on that. So hopefully very soon those are going to go up, and thank you, Daryl, for putting up a really good set, because that sounds like it could generate a good dozen or more tasks to fix.
Yeah.
Is it unique to this organization that's having a lot of people, or is it just kind of a generic everything is everywhere?
Everything's bigger this year. Every organization is getting flooded, and right now when we go into Google Code, the expectation is when we apply, we put 25 tasks up, and we're asked to put 75 tasks initially when the program launches. Now, I said that was insanely small. We're going to put 200. I'm glad we did. I wanted 300. We had 90 tasks consumed in the first week. Last year we had 90 tasks total consumed.
Wow.
So as the tasks get done, more tasks can be done that require the previous ones done, so we can write more tasks because of that. But there's also, we have a limited mentor pool. The mentors are starting to get, Christmas, family. Also, holy crap, I don't know if I can do this anymore. This is way more work than I signed up for. So that happens every year. But across the board, I'm looking at some of the other orgs I'm on the mailing list, and they're having the same issues. It's that they can't write the tasks fast enough. The students are overwhelming them. So I will be better prepared next year, I think. But this year we were kind of blindsided by the amount of interest that was shown, especially very early on in the program. We really want to have at least 100 tasks open. Right now, I think we're down to about 50. So we're getting really down low in the middle. We still have open tasks, so we still have non-beginner tasks, but they're not necessarily the easiest, and they're not necessarily in the areas that students are interested in working. So we want Google Code to be fun, and we want you to be able to pick which kind of task you want to do, and not just what's available. So that's all I have to say about that. Is there any more presentations happening?
I don't think that we have any more presentations scheduled for today. So if anyone else has anything they would just want to say, any closing remarks, or just things they want to put out there.
Do we have any games yet, or anything?
Not yet.
That would be
You can fix that.
a really good task.
Making a game?
Yeah, making a game. We could have a game jam even.
We actually
Or a
have
jam
funding.
game.
We have funding set aside to do a PySoy specific game competition, and we also have some interesting side prizes we can do with PyWeek, which we as a project have done PyWeek before, and I think we got second place on that. PyWeek is coming up as well this spring. The biggest issue right now is the input. The input has to be fixed. Without input, people have written games that work around it, but we really just need the input modeling. And we need someone to really step up and say, I'm going to take on the input tasks.
If we split it into a few tasks, like controller and stuff, and just make it kind of basic at first, I mean, Definitely get a couple people on that.
How about a task to write player D tasks?
Yeah.
I mean, a task to do player D tasks.
A task to write is a research task. It's looking at the work that's ahead of us for player D to make player D something that you actually use. We have a basic API structure that we want. This has been discussed for years now. We have basically the way it needs to work with LibSoy and the resulting API and how the plugins need to work in the cross-platform and everything. So we know all this, and I can refer back to older Hangouts and so on this. The problem is that we haven't actually broken up the core player D stuff into tasks, which can be a research task.
Player. What? What are we referring to here?
It's a different project we've forked off of LibSoy. LibSoy was implementing controller support internally. It got too complicated, and also what we were trying to do is much more applicable than just PySoy. So we forked it off into a service called Player D that manages input devices and input device to player relationship, much like you have on game consoles, where you have controller 1, controller 2, controller 3, and the cross association.
Mm-hmm.
It should be a fairly lightweight server when we're done with it, but it is something that you want really running as soon as the system starts. So that if you have controllers assigned and you switch between PySoy to a game that's not PySoy based, you still have the controller association and the mappings and everything the way you want. So, not too complicated. It's just the code has to be written.
Is player D somewhere? Is there a source for that?
Yep.
Somewhere?
It's on the Mercurial.
Oh, is it? Okay, I missed it.
On the Copyleft games.
Ah, there you go. I found it.
There's nothing there except the design documents and headers.
I think someone finished a Bluetooth task recently. So.
Oh, there we go. We have a little bit of Bluetooth. But that's Bluetooth for Linux also, and that's not the OS X and Windows Bluetooth, because they're all different. That's one of the reasons. One of the problems we're facing also is putting that controller support into LibSoy itself, because we wanted to be able to do things like connecting a Bluetooth device from within a game. That meant we had all sorts of Bluetooth and USB OS-specific code in LibSoy, which is, for what we're trying to use it for, was a little complicated. Abstracting out into a separate project made a lot of sense for that. Getting blues off of LibSoy as a dependency is going to make porting a lot easier.
Yeah.
So.
All right. So I found something in player D code. It's in Connect Bluetooth. You can see this. This is probably a mistake, a typo, because it's always false, of course. So you can just delete that code because it doesn't even work.
Yeah.
Wait, is that trying to assign status to 0? It's not checking.
That's from this year, I think. I think it's Dara works. Dara works.
It's always status to 0.
Yes,
Wait,
yes.
no. It will always fail because returning 0 because we're setting status to. Yeah.
And then
It's not a double equals.
I see a double equals on this version.
Yeah,
No.
it's a test.
Wait, maybe it broke.
Mhm.
Interesting.
It's kind of easy to test.
I looked over it. It's hard to test because we don't have the full system running. I looked over it and it was pretty sound as an overall structure. I'm pretty sure I was the one that reviewed that. It's probably a little buggy. It will probably have to be cleaned up a bit in order to actually use it. But
What does it actually do? We're connecting Bluetooth. What? We're just connecting
Devices.
Bluetooth.
just to pair with Bluetooth.
And we're just connecting
but-
them?
Yeah. if you connect a Bluetooth device, it should go into the HID system, which go into the event system, which we can pick up on with another hook. It's disjointed. You don't connect a Bluetooth to a specific event device. You connect a Bluetooth device, and if it is a HID device, you get events from it. But someone could just as easily hook up a headset or a printer with the same system, theoretically. Right now, we really need to get a keyboard and mouse. So in the overall design, what we really want to have, if you read the design document, we want two APIs, a low-level API for raw input, abstracted raw input, and a high-level interface for actions performed with that input. So that a game can be written to use the action of look rather than LOOK, where you're looking. And then you can use a Connect system, a Connect interface, you can use a PlayStation Move, you could use a dual joystick, etc.
So like you buy into controller.jump or whatever, instead of controller.a or whatever.
Yeah, and then if like Jump, for example, if someone wanted to write this in an awesome summer code project for Connect, we already have seen basic Connect support working and Connect-like devices. Did you see the movie Her?
No.
In Her, you can find the video of this on YouTube of him playing this video game. There's a video game, it's living room-wide hologram, will be set in the future, but he's playing a video game, he's moving around, and he's using his hands like this to run. I imagine if you programmed it to look for this particular gesture, like this, or whatever.
Yeah.
If you would use that, you could use Jump for Jump, and it can acknowledge that action being performed in Connect without having to have game-specific code in there. Also, the side effect of that is if you're using that interface, then every game that has a jump action can use the same gesture without having to figure out, this game I have to be a little more slow with it. This game I have to raise my hand higher. This one's a little more sensitive, and adjust the way you're interacting with the game for each individual game's code.
Yeah, that's the biggest problem I always find when something's like abstracted like that. If you need to, if it's mostly good, but you need a teeny tiny tweak that, like you need to define jump as like two hands doing like this, you might have a suddenly to implement the entire system again.
Well, that's part of the challenge of API design is
Yeah.
making sure we have that flexibility. It's going to be a process. Player D is going to probably take the next 5 years to really polish up.
Wow.
But we can get a basic system now, and we can get a basic system that serves our needs, and as more people need it, it's free software. People can come in and make edits and improvements, and we can put out new versions. So we can expect it's going to take a while to mature, like any other project will.
But as you said, just so people don't get too intimidated, main what we want to aim for right now is just keyboard and mouse support.
Maybe a controller hit, but yeah, we're not planning to do any Connect gestures just yet. It's really just a thought experiment when we do the API design. Is what kind of experimental, new, radical, whatever game controllers may come down the line? What will it look like in 10 years? And making sure that we're preparing to not have to rewrite the entire thing to support new types of game controllers. So, Connect is a thought experiment, not an immediate target.
Yes.
And let's hope that we get most of the controllers done before the Steam controller drops, and you have to re-implement everything.
Oh God.
Because now you're gonna have two trackpads.
How long have they been developing that now, though?
Oh, it's gone through many
I thought they
iterations.
dropped it.
Have they?
Yeah.
I think that it was probably like an early access thing. I don't think that it's out for consumers yet, though. Although I can check.
Alienware, I noticed it has started pushing their Steam boxes.
Yeah, but the Steam controller itself, I thought they had dropped that, the whole like touchscreen gesture control. I thought they dropped that in favor of just a dual stick because it wasn't.
They're using touchscreens to simulate a dual stick. So
Okay.
not touchscreens, trackpads.
Trackpads, yeah.
But you can have them set up either to act like trackpads or to act like joysticks.
Yeah.
Wish that Steam would give their APIs without having to go through all kinds of official things. Steam.
Wah wah. We ready to close it?
Yeah.
So, has everyone said everything they want to say? No one has anything else?
Merry Christmas. Belated.
Happy New Year by the time we
New Year.
finish this hangout. Okay, so this has been the week 4 Google Hangout for the Google Code-In for copyleft games. So, see you guys next week.
See ya.
Bye.